What is up, guys? I am Sean, and I'm here to help awaken the hero within you. There's a hero within all of us. This is the How to Hero YouTube channel, and that is the goal. There's a hero within all of us, and it's my job to help you kind of find your hero and awaken that hero that's within. So today I wanted to talk about what to do after you've had a spiritual awakening. I want to keep this very generic, very general, keep it very focused, and I'm going to give you 10 different steps. I've written down 10 different things that essentially I think apply to everybody that's experiencing a spiritual awakening, no matter what point they're on the path. Like as they move forward, we're all at different stages, but I think that these 10 things are helpful at all stages, and there's something that's kind of they're going to kind of persist throughout your journey, throughout your life, as you move forward and as you are more in tune with spirit, with the divine, with the universe, with God, however you want to experience that, and however that resonates with you. There's different ways everybody experiences the divine in different ways. I like to call it the divine. The divine, I also refer to it as God, the infinite one creator, really resonates deeply with me as well. And so in an effort to try and make this usable for everybody, I'm going to include that. If you have particular needs or particular questions, leave them in the comments. And if you like the video, click that like button. If you want to see more stuff like this, consider subscribing. So now I'll just jump right into it. So the first thing, let's talk about spiritual awakening just briefly. Awakening. Let's just talk about that briefly, because what does that mean? Am I awakening? Am I spiritually awakening? I don't know, right? It can be kind of confusing. Essentially what it is understanding and starting to move towards an understanding of the truth of the world, of reality, of the universe. It's a pathway that we're all on from the beginning of our incarnation. We're all on this path. We're all on this journey at different stages of it, different levels of it. And it's not that one level is better or worse than another. We're just at different points in that process. And so we can begin an incarnation and we can already be towards that point of unity, right? Of that oneness. We can already almost be there. And so we can just have a few more lessons to learn and then experience a really profound awakening and kind of coming into tune with our true purpose and our soul's purpose, and developing this really strong connection with our higher self, and then aligning our activities in this 3D plane with our soul's purpose, and aligning, what we do in this life with our spiritual purpose. And so we can get to that point, or we can be a few incarnations before that, where we still have a lot of lessons to learn, but we're becoming awakened to the truth. And so we're at different stages, and that the stage you're at is not super important. But really what it is, it's about understanding that the universe is made up of love energy, that the universe is made up of infinite creation energy that is pure love and unconditional love. And it's in all things. It's in all things, organic and inorganic. It's in inanimate things. It's in walls. It's in every single smallest unit that you can measure or that you can see is even smaller, right? So just recently in science, they've started to learn that, everything is vibratory frequencies, right? Everything is essentially light. It's created of photons. And everything is vibrating at different frequencies, and that's what maintains its effect on the way we perceive it, right? And how well we perceive it, or how well we're able to work with it in a physical world, or how unseen it is to us, right? So it goes kind of both ways. The faster things are moving, right, the less likely we are to be able to physically engage with it, right? And that's one of the things that science is starting to kind of come around and understand. And so I've talked enough about what spiritual awakening is. It's just really about understanding the truth and being on this path of seeking truth and understanding that there's more to this life than just your own perception of things. There's more to this world. There is an intelligence behind all of creation. There's an intelligence behind the energy that outflows and pours in. There's an intelligence there and a divine plan that's in process of unfolding. And that we all have kind of unique experience, and we have unique perspective on this divine plan. And that unique perspective furthers the plan, right? It's the universe experiencing itself in an infinite array of potentials. And so what that looks like is we are all one, right? So it's beginning to formulate that understanding. And first it'll come in a cognitive way, and then it'll become an experience, right? You'll experience the knowing of these things that you've learned intellectually or cognitively. Or you'll have what I had, which is like you learn of it cognitively and then boom, it just all like explodes. And then you'll have like a kind of very almost violent awakening like I did, but I'll talk about that another time. And so the first thing that's on my list is developing a sadhana. It's sadhana. It's a term that came out of the East, and it's essentially developing a spiritual practice that is, it has no goal, right? The goal of the spiritual practice is to be more in touch with spirit and to be more in touch with the moment, to be mindful, and to understand that there is a kind of beingness that's there. And you can facilitate this in many different ways. The two that I recommend, because I have the most familiarity with them, are yoga and meditation. And really any form of these two is beneficial. And then there's also like mindfulness practice and developing this kind of routine for giving yourself space to just power down from all the electronics and all the stuff in our world, and just kind of giving yourself space to kind of commune with spirit, commune with yourself, and kind of get in tune with a presence, right? And doing that daily is going to build this kind of expansion in your mind, this space for like comprehension that there's a space between the stimulus of the world that engages with your psyche, right? There's a space between that stimulus of the world and then your actions and how you then respond to the stimulus in the world, whether it's a stimulus from another person, a stimulus from just events that are happening to you, or thoughts in your mind that you no longer have to identify with because you recognize that they are illusions. They're not you. They're not you. You are the awareness behind the thoughts. You're the awareness observing the rest of things as they occur, right? What's the word that I'm thinking? You're a witness to the unfoldings of life, and you're a witness to all of creation, right? So developing that sadhana is super important. I would say it's mandatory. Of course, do as you please, and it may not resonate with you to do this, but like I will say from my own experience and from everybody that I've spoken to, that it wasn't until we really brought in this spiritual practice that we really understood and really started to make big gains spiritually, and really started to like move down that path of progress that we would consider spiritual progress, right? Tuning in really closely to our heart and really understanding like what drives us and what our soul's purpose is, and kind of what these gifts are that we've been brought into the world with, and how we can express these gifts to help our humanity or Gaia, or just heal ourselves, right? And the second thing I have on the list is self-care and self-love. So developing this regimen for yourself, like expressing self-love and self-care, and really keeping an eye out on your thoughts and how you're interacting with yourself mentally, and making sure that that's clean, right? Like there's a lot of energetic potency in how we talk to ourselves, it emits vibrations, it emits energy into the universe. And the universe, in manifestation, when you're manifesting, emitting energy into the universe kind of says, hey, universe, here's experience that I want to see. So we manifest our reality through our own interpretations of things and through our subconscious kind of manifesting our experience. And the way we perceive things and the energy that we put out into those perceptions through our own thoughts and feelings is what gives those occurrences and those thoughts and feelings more potency. So the more attention we give to something, the more potent it becomes energetically, the more loud it becomes to the universe. So if we always see people cutting us off in traffic, and we always see like people treating us poorly on the road, right? And we have this like road rage issue, and we spend a lot of our time driving focusing on these different ways that these people are infringing upon our space or whatever. We're essentially creating this narrative in our mind, this story that we then attach our identity to, which then strengthens that. And then the universe says, oh, they love these experiences. Let's give them more. Let's give them more of this, right? And the universe doesn't understand the difference between experience that you consider to be positive that you're giving attention and experience that you consider to be negative that you're giving attention. Whatever you're giving your attention to, the universe goes, oh, I get it. Okay, you want more of that? Here you go, bud. And in that way, it's how we kind of shape and manifest our lives. And we do this through programming, kind of manifesting the experience the way we want to experience it. So you need to self-love and you need to stop self-judging. And these two things will help you to see what you're judging in others and will help you to pull back from that as well. So in making progress with your self-love, self-care, you're going to be healing that piece of you that also has this like drive to judge others. You'll be kind of killing two birds with one stone kind of thing. Although you don't want to kill birds with stones. I think I highly recommend that you don't kill birds with stones. But if you were to kill birds with stones, you would want to do it in an efficient way, right? so don't kill birds. So the third thing I have on my list is finding community. So you're going to want to do this in a way that's as safe to you as possible. So you want to like jump on Discord groups, Reddit, Facebook, or some type of way that you can remain anonymous or remain comfortable and dive into what people are doing in that space. So if you're talking about spiritual awakening, there's a lot of different groups. If you're talking about starseeds or light workers, there's different groups for that, different Discord groups and all these different things, different resources. And I'll leave it to you to find the ones that resonate with you, because you'll feel like this feels like a good group for me to join, or you'll look at it and you'll feel like this doesn't feel great. So trust those feelings, right? When you're looking for these places to join, trust those feelings. Make sure that you're just comfortable with what you're joining into. And then be like a fly on the wall, right? Like observe the conversation, observe what's going on, and then join in if you want. At this point, you're really just kind of spreading your perspective, right? You're gaining more perspective from the rest of the community, and just understanding that you're not alone, right? There are millions of people going through this right now, millions. And it's only going to increase exponentially as more and more awaken. As more people kind of come into their truth, they're going to understand more and more about the truth and begin to really push this kind of awakening train. And people are going to be jumping on left and right. And it's going to become almost, I think, commonplace to just really hear about this type of stuff, just in mainstream media, as well as in your friend groups. You're going to have people just like talking about it openly, because people are starting to understand that the stigma around their creative expression and around expression of their truth is more or less an illusion. And they're going to start standing more in their light, and you're going to see a lot more people being themselves and expressing themselves openly and genuinely with integrity. And as you do that, you're going to start to understand that you can do that too. And by doing that, you give others power to do that themselves. And that's one of the ways that that really you can kind of shine, right? When people talk about shining and standing in your truth. Like, you empower others by doing that, just by being yourself in whatever way makes sense to you. The fourth thing I have is learning about your shadow and understanding what shadow work is. Carl Jung came up with this concept of your shadow. It's your shadow consciousness. It's fragments of yourself that you've kind of tucked away. You've had issues with these in the past, typically when you were a child. You've had authorities or peers tell you you can't behave this way because that's stupid and it's childish and you need to grow up. Or they'll say, let's say you used to see orbs or auras around people and you used to try to talk about it. And then like your mom one time was like, don't talk about this stuff. It's weird. It's people are going to think you're weird. Don't do that. It's, just don't. And then as a child, you're affected by that, right? Like you go, oh shoot, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want this piece of me to exist. I decline it. I push it away. I repress it. And that's the shadow. And so you want to spend some time to research what your shadow is, learn about the different theories around it and how the shadow forms. And then in doing that, I recommend looking up YouTube. It really is that simple. Looking up different YouTubers have different approaches for healing their shadow, and they kind of outline their process. All of them do it for free. And it's because every person's shadow is very unique to them, you kind of have to just take their approach and kind of mold it for a way that works for you. Essentially what it is looking for your triggers that help you identify what your potential shadow self is and what piece of your consciousness has been fragmented away from you, because your higher self is always looking to reintegrate that. So you're going to see all these triggers, and these triggers are breadcrumbs for you to then follow and find the path to the shadow, which then you can integrate. It's about accepting with self-love, non-judgment, and unconditional love, this piece of you that you threw away. And in accepting these and bringing this back in, you're going to find like old kind of aspects of your personality might start to come back, and like the craziness, the childlike wonder, and some of the innocence that you had will start to come back in these different forms as you kind of reintegrate. And you'll keep being given opportunities to integrate the shadow by your higher self. It's part of your soul's development. It's part of the whole plan and part of the whole evolution of your soul. It's how we kind of become whole again. And so we form all this shadow, and then we have to work through it all and kind of analyze it all. And so some of us will have very dramatic awakenings where we like awaken to all the truth. And a lot of us will get periods of enlightenment where we are more or less in a state of no suffering. And this can last for days or weeks, sometimes months, but typically only days or weeks. But then because we still have so much work to do on our shadow, we'll fall back into our old state of consciousness and our old suffering ways. And that's because we've had a taste of what it can be like without the suffering, and with full integration and self-realization, and then what it can be like when we're in that like healed state, which is enlightenment, or we'll fall out of that and then need to work towards it because we haven't done the work. And that's the main thing. So we can have that period of enlightenment where the ego is very quiet, and you can kind of experience a bliss, right? A joy that is almost impervious to the external world. And then you need to work on your shadow. And so that's a concept you need to learn about, definitely. You'll also find that my fifth thing on the list is your intuition. Work on developing it. You may notice that suddenly you start to know stuff, right? You start to just feel like, oh, I should just stand here for a little bit longer. And then standing there, some other event will occur that would not have occurred had you left, right? And it'll present to you some sort of life opportunity, or a new person. A new person will come into your life. You'll like meet a new friend or something, and they'll be like on the same path as you spiritually. And you'll be like, oh my God, I don't know anyone else. And you guys will become besties, right? Or, things like that will happen. And it's these types of like almost divine interventions that will occur, and you'll feel it from your intuition. So you want to develop a really strong connection with your intuition and how that works for you, and really develop like your own abilities, and start to pay attention to how you engage with spirit. And because we all do it on different levels, we have different like natural connections, almost like a natural ability to connect. I think all humans are psychic, I believe. And depending on how we receive those messages, like we can be one of the clairs, right? Clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, whatever it is. And those messages will come in our strongest way, more clearly. And then we'll start to kind of open up the other ways and develop strength in those as well. And this all happens from some of the self-love and some of the stuff that I've laid out, the meditative practice, the yoga. It kind of builds on this, and it'll strengthen and strengthen and strengthen as you become more aligned with your higher self, and you start to really feel the love and the unity and oneness of all things, and you start to really believe in it. So you not only are you cognitively understanding it, but you're starting to experience it and believe in it, which is what helps to strengthen the confidence in your intuition and really bring out these powers, these like gifts. Though I don't like to call them gifts, because everybody has them. They are gifts, but they don't make you special. And so it's important to you can fall into the spiritual ego this way, right? So you're not special. You're just becoming aware of the truth, and you're becoming more in tune with yourself, which is allowing you to access things that you've always had, that all other people have available to them. The sixth thing I have is your soul's purpose. So you'll want to like kind of develop this connection with your heart, right? Your heart center, and really feeling like, what's your purpose in this life? Like, what are you meant to do? Your soul's purpose and divine purpose is like this. It's like a work that you can do that will assist either humanity or other people, or just even yourself. And by doing it, you'll come into abundance, and you'll come into kind of this creative expression of self that's just on a level that you're not familiar with in the past. Like maybe you've caught glimpses of it here and there when you were doing something that was very creative to you, and you've been in that flow state. But really thinking about the things and the skills you have, like the divine talents that you've kind of shared or felt within yourself. What it could be artistic, like drawing or painting or something, or it could be singing, music. It could be just like doing stuff like this, like YouTube videos or coaching or whatever it is. But these ways of creatively expressing yourself and your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings are typically gonna fall in line with like some way of doing that in a productive sense that gives value to others and is servicing other people, which will formulate abundance and manifest abundance in your life. And it will also progress you down the other paths of like the intuition and the self-love and aligning yourself with like your true purpose. And I keep doing this. I've been doing this. Like I can't stop it. I don't just namaste. I don't know. And so the seventh thing I have is energetic sensitivity. So you'll find yourself energetically sensitive, and at first this is going to feel like a bad thing. It's going to feel like you're just too sensitive, and like you want to dull it, and you want to you'll start to learn like shielding techniques and different things like that. And that's all well and good. And definitely you want to learn those techniques, because there are times where you want to like really tone it down, and you want to like, you need to be, for some practical reason, you need to be more aware of like the 3D and the physical. But for the most part, I recommend like really leaning into the spiritual, or not spiritual, but like the energetic sensitivity, like really leaning into that and trying to understand how you feel things, how you get these messages through your sensitivities, like how they come into your being, and how you process them. And then also when they're negative, like if they're negative energies, how do they sit with you, or are you able to ground them easily? And how do they manifest for you? Do they come in the form of like fatigue or sadness, or do they come in like physical aches, pains, or sickness? And then paying attention to kind of how you ground that. And there's a lot of different techniques for grounding the energy after and kind of maintaining a balance there. So the 8th thing that I have is a mindfulness and mental fortitude practice. So this is about, like, the way that I think of this is about using your daily happenings, like all the daily occurrences, your interactions with other people, your interactions with yourself and your self-talk, the occurrences that happen to you just in the world, and using these as kind of ammunition to develop your own spirituality. And what you want to do is look for what bugs you about these experiences, what seems to be negative, and then look for the silver lining. Look for the lesson. Like, there's a lesson in everything. Everything that happens, especially the things that are negative. In the things that are positive, the lesson can often be just associated with that positivity, right? You can like have a really good experience with that person. You can be like, oh, I'm so grateful for that experience I just had. And then the lesson there is be grateful for the experiences you have. You see the lesson. You've already seen the lesson. You could perceive that interaction in a multitude of ways, and you're seeing the positive and the gratitude, and that could be the lesson. But if you're seeing a negative thing with an interaction with someone, it could be it generally is an indicator of your shadow, but it's also an opportunity for growth, right? Like, that's where we grow. That's why the darkness is there. The dark is there to be a catalyst for our growth. So make sure to use it, because otherwise you're going to continue to have these experiences. And until you learn those lessons, you'll just keep having the same repetitive experiences, and you'll just be like, why the heck do I keep having these things? Because, it just seems like no matter where I go, I keep running into the same issue. And it's because the lesson that you may have thought you learned, maybe you're not learning it. And that's why it tends to repeat. So 9, I have a life transformation plan. So consider, with all of the stuff that you've already learned, consider how you might view your life as it transforms into a more spiritual one, or one that has a spirituality at like the base of it. When you're in alignment and performing your purpose, what does that look like? Like, basically think about it and envision it, and maybe write down different points, like how that actually looks for you. Like, when you wake up in the day, what do you do first? And like, how does your day go? And start to like envision this place as if you're already there, because that will help to manifest you on like a path and on a timeline of alignment with your own soul's purpose. Just by envisioning like how that looks, you'll start to kind of come in contact with that more and really like develop a closeness to that. And so the last thing I have is dismantling the hold of the ego. So I've been talking about all these different strategies, and a lot of them actually circle around removing power from the ego, because the ego exists inside and will take a hold of any concept or any form that it can. It will identify itself. So if you have a child, it will say, no, I'm a father. And you're not a father. You are the consciousness that's aware of this entity, of this being who has a child, right? So if you were to not have that child, if that child were to pass away, heaven forbid, but if that child were to pass away, you would still be there, right? You are not that identity, right? You're just assigning these identities. And when you assign these identities, you empower the ego. And so what you need to do is, when you see these identities coming in, and when you identify yourself and your beingness with these different concepts, different labels, different things, that's when you kind of are giving power to the ego, and you want to pull yourself away from it. So recognize its ego. By recognizing its ego, you see through the illusion. By seeing through the illusion, you pull power from the ego. And it's through routinely seeing through that illusion over and over again throughout your days, just seeing through it, seeing through it, seeing through it. Whenever you are given that opportunity, you'll begin to just pull power away. And the ego gets pretty tricky. If it's anything that's based in guilt, fear, shame, any of those negative emotions, it's your ego. If it's based in unconditional love, non-judgment, and it's truth, then that is your truth. That is your intuition. It's your heart. And those are the two ways to to know. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please click that like button, consider subscribing, lots more stuff on the way. Thank you so much for watching. Keep shining brightly. Mwah. Love you. Take care. Bye.